Welcome back to my YouTube channel, dear friends, dear viewers. I want to use this opportunity and wish all of you Happy New Year. And let's continue analyzing more games of Mikhail Tal. Let's go, let's start. So in my previous videos we already analyzed 57 games. We will continue from here. Another game from Chess Olympiad, 1974, Nice, Soviet Union plays Mongolia, and Tal is facing Myanmar Suren. c4 e6, knight c3, bishop b4, knight f3 d5. Yes, here modern computers suggesting queen b3, d4, and now after knight f6 black could easily transpose to Rogozin, but Myanmar Suren goes knight d7, e3 c5, bishop d3, knight c6, short castle d takes c, bishop takes c4. Not much is really happening. Yes, some decent moves from both sides. Short castle a3. Yes, here maybe bishop takes c3, b takes c, b6. Yes, I have seen similar structure many times, but with the knight on f6, but never with the knight on e7. Yes, hard to say. Yes, for white it will be easier to push e3 pawn because knight is not on f6. Yes, hard to say what are the benefits for the black with the knight on e7. C takes d, and this is probably the first major inaccuracy or even mistake by Myanmar Suren. Yes, he could just take bishop c3, b takes c, as already I said, or maybe even bishop a5. Yes, here a takes b was possible, d takes c, b takes c, and white is much better. E takes d, for example, here bishop d6, and we are having very playable position. Bishop takes, pawn takes, b6, queen d3, bishop b7, and here Tal went rook e1. He could go knight g5. Yes, knight g5 secures huge advantage for white. Knight f5, there is knight e6 tactical ideas. If you go knight g6, then h4. Yes, here we can see that some commentators are suggesting rook e1 or even queen h3. Queen h3 doesn't really work because of h6. And let's say knight takes f7, there is rook takes f7. And doesn't matter how do you take on e6, black is having always queen f6 ideas. Yes, but here h4 is working, and if you push h6, then h5 is coming. Yes, hard to say why Tal didn't play this knight g5. No doubts he saw knight g5, and I don't have doubts that Tal also saw this h4 move. Rook e1, h6, bishop a2, and here some moves are possible like rook c8, but already white has preferable position, and rook e8. Huge inaccuracy, even maybe close to mistake. Rook takes e6. And now Myanmar Suren decided to capture on e6. Computers are suggesting knight takes d4, c takes d, bishop f3, rook h6, g takes h, queen f3, and white is much better. Takes, bishop takes e6, this is completely lost. Of course, Myanmar Suren went king f8 because king h8 there is knight g5, beautiful tactical idea. And here bishop h6 wins, queen h7 wins, but Tal went knight h4 with the ideas to play queen f5, knight f5, knight g6 checkmate. Of course, black has found knight e5, and now queen h7. Yes, bishop e4, queen takes e4, knight 7 to c6 was played. Yes, of course, if knight f7, bishop h6 finishes the game. Yes, you cannot really take with the g pawn. If you take with the knight, I guess just queen h8. And yes, like this, and queen h8, and queen takes g8, and knight g6. If something like this, yes, queen g6 maybe doesn't work, but this, and then knight g6. For example, king e7, we take knight g6, knight takes g6, and we play queen f7, and then a4. So knight c6, queen g8, bishop h6 is also working. Like rook e6, bishop g7, king f7, and white is just taking on e5. Yes, Tal went queen g8, king e7, knight f5, king f6, d takes c, knight takes e5, queen g7. Yes, forcing line, king e6, knight d4. No doubts, Tal calculated all this, and here bishop f4. Position is not completely lost for black. Here, for example, bishop d5 was played by Myanmar Suren, but queen d7 would have been the best. Bishop e5, rook e5, queen f6, rook e6. White is much better, but not completely winning. Bishop d5 and rook e1, this is already lost for black. This rook takes e5, rook takes e5, queen takes e5. Maybe bishop takes e5 would have been slightly more precise. And knight c2, and check, and c4, and queen e4, and bishop, yes, h3. Computer also recommends bishop e3, king d6, knight d4. Yes, this is completely lost. Yes, only question I'm having, why Tal didn't play knight g5, knight g6, h4. In 2024, no doubts, all of us we would play it. But of course, later on, rook e6, and we can see that Tal calculated quite precisely. Maybe he had better continuations, like much stronger continuations, but of course, with the engines next to me, much easier to say that. Also, we can criticize the way Myanmar Suren played the opening, and especially developing the knight on e7, but let's not forget that in 1974 and especially 2375 rated player, he simply didn't have all the information that we are having now. Yes, another game. Yes, Tal is playing maybe even unrated player from Wales, Soviet Union. Let's go. c4, knight f6, knight c3, d5, takes, knight f3, Grunfeld. Yes, here d5, otherwise white might go e4 and stop all d5 attempts. g6. Yes, many moves are possible, including h4, queen a4. Yes, if c6, maybe knight takes d5, queen takes d5. Knight c6, another move. Queen b3, knight b6, bishop d7, nice move. Queen b3, knight b6. Not really bishop c6. I guess the point is knight e5 is there. You do have also e4, some knight c3, bishop c4. d4, bishop g7, tal goes bishop g5. And here we see h6. Another move is to play bishop e6. This bishop h4. And now bishop e6. Or maybe even c5, d takes a, bishop e6. Yes. e3 and rook d1 are the moves to play. Tal goes rook d1. Short castle. e3. a5, very typical move for the Grunfeld type of positions. Yes, here bishop e6 ideas are not really working because of d5. Yes, bishop c3, b takes c, and then c4 ideas are coming. Yes, a5, bishop e2. And now computer likes some knight b4 ideas. For example, if you go knight b4 and I'm, let's say, castling short side, bishop e6 already works, and d5, knight 4 takes d5. Yes, and if I'm going a3, I guess again bishop e6 works. That's why I should play d5, c6, or e4, c6. Yes, e4, c6. And what about if I am castling short side, then bishop e6 again comes. Yes, a4, queen a3, rook e8, knight e4. Not the best move. Short castle would have been more precise. Yes, here bishop e6 with the ideas to play some queen d5, queen takes a2. Or queen d5 and queen a5. So this short castle, b6, stopping knight c5. But too artificial. Somehow feels very soft. Bishop c4, knight b4. Yes, knight d2. And here knight c2. At least a weird move. Like b5 I understand, because you are forcing white to take on d5 maybe. Why not bishop e2? Because knight bishop e2, knight c2, queen d3, just c5. And black is much better. So you are forcing bishop d5, knight d5, you are getting pair of bishops. Anyway, some problems are there, but yes, but at least yes, in 2024, no doubts, all of us would play b5. Yes, maybe another option would have been c5, just to open up this bishop on g7. Knight c2, very strange move. This knight goes back, and just queen e2. Really hard to say what did black achieve by wasting 2 tempos. I think queen is much better placed on e2 compared to a3. And here, of course, Sally and David John misses this knight b1 beautiful idea. A takes b, a3 comes, and knights are hanging. Bishop a4, b3, and bishop d7, e4, bishop takes f7. Not the only move. Knight e5 and knight c3 are also good. Bishop takes f7, queen c4. Yes, maybe e6, and I assume the point is being, if I take your knight on b4, then you go g5, bishop g3, knight e4, but even up there after bishop e5, king is exposed. Yes, at least some commentators are suggesting bishop takes f6 and then just taking on b4, without giving these opportunities to go g5. Knight d5 was played, e takes d, this is completely lost. Knight takes a2, knight e5. Yes, king g8, but d6 is coming. Takes, and b5 e6, king g8, and seems David John resigned without waiting move from Mikhail Tal, because almost every single move wins. Yes, very nice game by Tal. Of course, his opponent has done a lot of inaccuracies, some mistakes, and the crucial one was going knight c2 and then knight back. Usually you don't have that much time, especially with the black pieces. Yes, another game. So Chess Olympiad is over, and we are having which tournament? Let's see, this is Lublin. And Tal is facing Damjanovic. And I should say that I didn't see this game in any chess book. Anyone analyzing, showing, recording some content, material, but Tal played like Magnus plays nowadays, or Fabi plays nowadays. Even starting from the early opening stage. I very much recommend this game because without any big sacrifices, but overall he played in a very high level. Yes, e4, c5, e6, d4, c takes d, knight d4, knight c6, knight c3, d6. Of course, nowadays Caruana and Magnus, they aren't playing this dubious opening, but let's not forget that at that time players didn't have access to computers, and no one could really say that this line is so dubious. Bishop e3, bishop e7, and bishop c4, knight f6, queen e2. Yes, we transpose to this bishop c4, queen e2 lines with the ideas to go long castle, short castle, long castle, queen c7. And starting from here, players are playing quite good, and especially Tal. Yes, we know that king b1, bishop b3, or rook h g1 with the ideas to push g4, a6, and g4, knight takes d4. Now if you take with the bishop, then e5 ideas are there. Let's say bishop e3, bishop takes g4, f3, bishop e6. Yes, g5 doesn't really work because e takes d, g takes f, d takes c, f takes c, c takes b, and queen takes e7. If you go bishop e3, then I just capture on g4, and then I go bishop e6. Of course, playable position, but black is slightly better. I don't think along h and g file you can really create anything serious. So rook takes d4, b5, of course g5. At some point white should push g5, knight d7. Yes, and here you do have different ideas. You can start with king b1, always useful move for white. You can also go queen h5 or rook g1. So rook g1, knight c5, king b1, bishop b7. And here one idea is probably to play some rook g3, queen h5. Maybe you can start with queen h5. For example, what if queen h5? Computer likes g6. Because if you go rook fc8, e5 ideas might be there. Let's say d takes here, rook h4. But even after rook fc8, e5, g6, queen h3, h5. And we are having very complicated position. And now f4, with the ideas to push f5. and later on f6 or maybe f takes c or g6. And now, so many years I'm playing Najdorf and similar structures, and I never seen with the bishop on b3 similar idea from black. Yes, the main point, of course, that whenever black wants, they can take on b3 and get rid of this very important and unpleasant bishop. E takes f, rook takes f5. Yes, position anyway remains quite complicated. Engine doesn't like this rook d4, rook d1 move. Knight takes b3. A takes b and b4. Knight a4, bishop e4. Yes, maybe with the ideas to play rook c8, maybe d5 at some point. Like after h4, d5. Knight b6, rook b8, queen c4, queen takes c4, because what else? e6 is hanging, e4 is hanging, takes. Yes, if you take with the b pawn, then b3 comes. And now rook c8. All the best moves. Rook e1, d5, and bishop c1. And now rook f8. Yes, Damjanovic went rook takes c4. Yes, engine shows rook takes c4 as the strongest move. Takes, rook e1, bishop d8. Also, computer likes rook cd8, and if I assume if rook takes c4, then probably some rook d1. Yes, rook d1, bishop d8, and now bishop c7. Of course, if we take, then bishop takes f4, bishop takes f4, or even rook c e8. c3, b takes c, rook f5, king c2 would have been better. And now rook f4, rook e6, rook d8, all goes rook f7, knight g4, rook d8, king c2, rook f5. Still, white is having some hopes. For example, some rook c4, rook d7, rook c6, but not really h4. Rook f8, very good move. And bishop takes f4. And rook d8 back. King f7. Yes, if you take on a6, then you are most likely losing your knight on g4 after rook d2 and rook g2. And here king g6. And Mato Damjanovic resigned. Yes, starting from f5 and even some moves before, Tal played very good game. And in 2024, at least I myself, I would wish to play something what Tal has done. Okay, another game we are having. This is probably, yes, Lublin. Zbigniew, 2200 player. Simchak. Most likely I'm pronouncing not in a correct way. Knight f3, knight f6, c4, g6, knight c3, d5, c takes d, knight takes d5, queen a4, bishop d7, queen b3, knight b6, d4, bishop g7, bishop g5. Yes, against Sally, Tal already played this line. And if I'm not mistaken, what has Sully played? Yes, h6, bishop h4, knight c6. Yes, here h6, bishop h4, knight c6. And we are having another attempt, short castle, rook d1. Yes, you do have a5, standard ideas, bishop g4, e3. Yes, whenever you take bishop f3, g takes f, and white can consider pushing h4 and h5. a5, bishop e2, h6, bishop h4, a4, queen a3. Somehow computer likes more queen c2. Attacking on e7, rook e8, h3. And here bishop takes f3, bishop takes f3, c6. Short castle, queen d6. White is slightly better. But most likely Zbigniew didn't see or underestimate next move of Mikhail Tal. Yes, bishop e6. He thought maybe bishop c4 or knight c4 will come, but d5. Yes, bishop d5 and knight d5 ideas aren't working because of at some point white plays e4. Bishop d7, short castle. Yes, this is already very unpleasant position. Bishop f8 with the ideas maybe to play g5 and then push e7 pawn. You cannot really push e7 pawn directly because you are losing your queen on d8 and knight d5. So g5 with the idea if bishop g3 e6. Anyway, white is winning after bishop g3 e6 b4. But of course Tal prepared this bishop h5, and now position is completely winning, or at least huge advantage, more than +2. But later on Tal goes wrong and gives few decent chances to his opponent. Knight f7, queen b4, bishop f7, and here knight b5, bishop b5, queen c3. Not the most obvious move, but queen b4 or queen c5, just slowly bringing the queen into the game. Knight e4, already this move allows some knight c4 tactical ideas. Queen c3, knight takes e5, queen e5, king takes f7. You should take bishop e8. Bishop f5, here bishop e6 finishes the game. Knight c5. Yes, you could also play some queen c3. And what if bishop takes e4? Do we go after d8 queen? No, we just play a rook d4 or bishop e6. So Tal goes knight c5 and e6, and now e4 works. D takes c, and after queen f6, black is better, and even much better. Knight c6, yes, here knight c6 and black is better. f4, rook e d8. Bishop c5. This part of the game Zbigniew plays quite decent. Yes, queen c5, rook e7 comes, takes knight a6, protecting the bishop on c5. Bishop f7, bishop b4, queen d4, bishop c5, queen f4. Not the best because you could play bishop d6 and f4, knight c5. And rook takes d6, c takes d, knight g4, bishop takes g4, queen takes g4, king f8. Anyway, position is around equal. Rook d1, and here Zbigniew goes wrong. He plays rook c8, king e7 would have been the strongest, and position remains around equal. So this, and he blunders rook takes d6. Of course, by playing rook c8, he wanted to go rook c1, and after king h2, queen e5, and just queen takes d6. But surprisingly or not, here after bishop h5, black doesn't have any moves to stop checkmate threats. And of course, after queen takes e6, queen f8, Zbigniew resigned. Of course, start of the game, opening part, and later on sacrificing the bishop was great by Tal, but later on he gave too many chances, and even position was much better for Zbigniew. In 2024, let's see, not only from top players, even like players with the rating 2600, you won't see anything like this. Yes, let's see. Yes, another tournament. 1974. Tal is facing 2380 rated player. Earlier, we checked game of Mikhail Tal against Rafael Vaganian, where Tal went knight b3, f6, bishop b5, f takes c, d takes c, knight c5, knight g5, bishop d7, bishop takes c6, and yes, already position was very unpleasant for Vaganian. So here we see bishop e7, bishop b5, knight b8. Yes, I think this is too deep, and in 2024 you won't face any player who plays French defense in a similar way, because you simply don't have that much time to play knight b8 and then preparing c5 or trading the bishops, light squared bishops, h4, h6, rook h3, b6, preparing bishop a6, queen e2. Maybe not the best. Computer likes even h5 or c3, a5, rook g3, bishop f8. Yes, here a4 or c6 or king f8. No, king f8 I don't like much. a4, c6, bishop f8, and I like Tal's decision, c4. Something very concrete. And here c6 was played by Jiri Fichtel. Yes, and here we can see that some commentators are suggesting a4, but yes, knight bd2 and c6. But even knight bd2, c6, c takes d, c takes d position is very unpleasant for black. But here we can see that c takes d, direct c takes d also works. A takes b, d takes c. So this, and here seems like bishop is almost trapped, but c takes d. And of course, if you take c takes b, then d takes c, d7 knight is hanging, and here queen e4. I'm threatening queen a8 and queen g6, something like queen c7, queen g6, and knight g5 ideas are coming and almost checkmating. Just want to show that some commentators are saying this position with, if I'm not mistaken, this is initiative or direct attack. I apologize. But modern computers are evaluating almost +4. So c takes d, c takes d, a4, bishop a6, bishop d2. Of course, we are happy to take with the pawn on b5, because pawn will protect, will control some important squares. g6, and now Tal goes h5, trying to open up the position. Some other moves are also possible, like king f1, queen d3, maybe even preparing rook g6, or knight c1. I guess knight is going maybe to d3 and then f4. h5, g takes h, knight h2. Computer likes more rook h3, knight h2, h4, rook h3, And maybe here bishop takes b5, a takes b, and some bishop e7, knight f8 ideas. Anyway, position remains +2 for white. Rook a7, queen h5, bishop e7, knight g4, knight f8, rook f3, bishop g5, knight g6 would have been better, and bishop b4. Again, computer likes rook c1 more, bishop b4, a takes b doesn't work because of rook a7, white is most likely threatening some bishop d6, rook h7, bishop d6, and rook c1. I apologize, rook c1, there is bishop, yes, bishop takes c1, knight c1, knight g6, knight e2, rook a8, rook c3. Black simply doesn't have much moves. Knight f4, knight takes f4, bishop f4, rook c7. Yes, why not rook c8? Because of rook d7, I guess. Why not, for example, rook c8? Oh, rook c6. Rook d7 is also possible. So bishop g5, and now rook a3 would have been much stronger, or king f1, f4, not the best move, with the idea, of course, to take. Knight f6. Yes, here bishop takes d6, and now rook c1, very important move. Otherwise, position is not easy. I guess if I manage to play rook c8, position is not that easy. So rook c1 with the idea is to play, of course, rook c6. So this rook c6 attacking on b6, and now king d1, queen e2, rook takes b6, rook b7, rook takes f7. Now queen c2 ideas are coming, or queen takes e6, queen e6, and here black resigned. Yes, nice game by Tal. From the opening he got preferable position, promising position, and I like very much this idea of going c4 and sacrificing bishop on b5. Opponent didn't accept the sacrifice and got unpleasant position. And we do have next game against Rainer Gnag, 25-15, c6, and knight f3. Tal says the young East German champion plays very actively. e5, and we transposed to Rui Lopez. Yeah, it's really hard to refute e4 knight c6 move. It was 2024, end of the year, European Club Cup. I started my game with e4 against Grandmaster 2550 rated, and he played knight c6. I went d4, d5, e5, bishop f5, but didn't get much. Yes, I wasn't well prepared because did not expect, but couldn't get anything significant. My opponent equalized easily. e5, bishop b5, a6, bishop a4, d6. Yes, c3 is another move. Short castle, bishop d7, and now d4. Yes, usually here b5, bishop b3, knight d4 is the move, and I think we do have some small tactical trick. Yes, he takes this c3, and here even c3 works, but not queen d4 because of c5, queen d5, and c4. Yes. I think we do have it even maybe here. If we go d4, then b5, bishop b3, we take the knight, takes, yes, c3, but not queen d4 because of c5, queen d5, and now c4 doesn't work because rook is hanging on a8, bishop e6, and bishop d7, and now c4. Yes, d4, knight f6 instead of b5. And here we do have bishop c6, we do have d5. Tal goes bishop takes c6, and bishop takes c6, and rook e1. Yes, knight takes e4 doesn't work because of d5, bishop e4, there is knight c3. So bishop e7, knight c3, e takes d, knight takes d4, bishop d7, queen f3. And here, of course, like in 2024, all of us would play short castle, and Tal recommends some bishop f4 or knight f5. White is better, white is slightly better, of course not winning, but we see some very weird move, like really hard to understand the point of bishop g4. Bishop g4, queen g3, and queen d7. Maybe black is preparing long castle, but why? I think if white would know that black is preparing long castle ideas, white can simply pass the move. h3, and now we see bishop h5. If you go bishop e6, white can simply play bishop e3 with the idea of rook ad1, or even the way Tal recommends, concrete e5 move. And now knight takes e6. Yes, queen e6, rook e5, f takes e, queen e5. Yes, bishop h5, knight f5, long castle. Now bishop g5, good move. If you go bishop g6, then knight e7, queen e7, knight d5 comes. Knight g8, now knight d5 is working, knight g7 is working. But Tal decides to go after this bishop on h5, bishop takes e7, knight e7, queen g5. And here we see that bishop is in some trouble, and already the best move is to play knight c6, and if queen h5, g6. But computer, instead of taking on h5, recommends knight d5. Yes, but Tal says just taking on d6 and check. This is also much better, but only 1.4. So knight takes f5, e takes f, g6, and here knight d5 is finishing the game, g4 finishes the game. So g4, if you take g takes f, then queen takes h5 comes, queen c6, f6, not even allowing to open up the g file. d5, rook e7, queen e5, knight e2, and final tactical shot, knight d4, rook takes e5, knight c6 comes. Otherwise, rook c7, queen takes d5 tactical ideas. Yes, only 24 moves against 25-15 rated player, but once again with the huge respect to Rainer, like in 2024, you will find very few players playing or making this kind of mistakes. Of course, we are not seriously speaking that any 2500 player will make similar mistakes. But of course, Tal from his side played a good game. And now we see that another game against Pologaevsky, Tal lost with the white pieces. I very much hope that it was no, but seems like this was Soviet championship. Yes, I should say that Pologaevsky played very good till some point. Position was around equal, but later on Tal started making some inaccuracies, even mistakes, and Lev Pologaevsky won the game. Once again, I was facing some difficulties to simply collect all the games where Tal didn't lose, and his unbeaten streak. I was really I couldn't find all the games. And if you checked my previous videos, you probably noticed that there also Tal has lost some games also. Thank you very much for watching this video. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like this video if you liked this Tal's unbeaten streak series. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Bye bye.